my fellow makers. Welcome to this 9th episode of the Knitterly Arts Podcast. I'm Jennifer Edwards, and I'm knitting a life, documenting the days, making so many things in and around a full life as a wife and mother, a teacher of knit and crochet classes, and I share this journey with all the women in my classes as well as through these online endeavors. You can access most of the places where I am online through jenniferedwards.com, and you can read about all sorts of other things that I have going on through the show notes or there on jenniferedwards.com. It has been a while since the last time I podcasted. I think it was right at the beginning of Lent, or Lent had not started yet. And I want to just dive right in with something that I really didn't purposefully do it the last time, but it's a concept that I really love to think about. And that is how we as makers tend to create through the seasons of our lives. I think this is especially so for knitters and crocheters. I know that it has been in my life. There are just certain seasons that we knit and crochet specifically for. There are some seasons that we knit and crochet to carry us through those seasons. Of course, holidays are a place where we often want to give the things that we've made to people. But this whole idea of knitting through the seasons, making things both to wear, to give, to celebrate, to honor the season that we're going through, whatever it is, however you think about it. This is perhaps my favorite thing about being a knitter and a crocheter, about being a maker in general. And so I mark the seasons of my life with the things that I make. And one of the ways that I'm doing that is through the church calendar. So that's always fun when we hit Lent and Easter, and then when Advent and Christmas comes up. I love to think about what could I make that honors this season, or that gives me some way to allow for reflection in that season, what have you. I also like to knit and crochet through the seasons, that chronologically happen in my life. So, of course, through winter, I like to knit, crochet, make things to wear that go along with those seasons. And because I live in a place here in North Carolina where we actually see all 4 seasons pretty evenly distributed throughout the year, a lot of times I feel like we have hot weather far more than I would like. But when those spring and summer months come along, I am itching for a new and different kind of knit and crochet, new and different crochet projects and knitted projects, namely the type of fiber that I'm using. So I'll move from the wools into cotton and linen and silk and very thin, lightweight DK fingering, instead of the robust worsted to chunky to bulky wools that I might choose for the fall and winter months. So this happens every year. It is a cycle that I just let myself move through, even if I am mid-project. As I told you in the last podcast, the bulky weight, wonderful tunic that I had going just kind of came to a halt because our weather turned so warm. And it did return to some lower temperatures, but I've still been hanging out with the lighter weight cottons and linens. And so anyway, I'm going to continue to talk about that today and in coming podcasts as well. Just this whole idea of knitting and crocheting through the seasons of our lives. I think if you remember in the last podcast, I showed you a project that I was actually very excited about. It was a cool, oversized sweater crocheted out of a variety of yarns. Of course, I was choosing cottons, and it was something that I wanted to make through Lent and have it ready in time to wear for Easter. And this is a very, very typical thing for me. It was abandoned fairly soon after I got a stack of these crocheted motifs and rectangles and squares, because I was very committed to working the ends in as I went. And have I done that? No. So sitting over in my basket there is this pile, and I have not woven the ends in. But another project has taken its place, and I'm really, really excited about this one. And I will show it to you. Those of you who follow me on Instagram, you got to see a little movie, a little film of this sweater. It is called My Favorite Sweater by Georgie Hallam. And I saw this yarn. It is a cotton linen blend in our shop, and I fell in love with it. The color is to die for. It is actually very difficult to describe this color. In some lights, it looks like rose. In some lights, it has an orange cast to it, and so anything in between, actually. And here I am on just having the sleeve left to do. I have gotten to the bottom. It's a wonderful construction top down. I won't have any seaming to do. This is marvelous. Very few ends to weave in. That's the important thing. And I am hoping to have this finished and ready to wear on Easter Sunday. And fingers crossed that it isn't going to be blistering hot by April 16th. This is a very late Easter this year, it seems. And so with our warm temperatures showing up even earlier than they ever have before, it may be quite a warm day for what is fast becoming my favorite sweater. And it just feels yummy, and it has this lovely tweedy look about it, and I have the perfect skirt to wear for Easter. Now, it's really less about having something that I can wear on Easter Sunday that I can say I made. You know, it's just not about that. One of the quotes I absolutely love and that I hang on to, and it is sort of the basis of this podcast, is a quote. I'm trying to remember who has put this out there, but the quote is, "Nothing to prove, everything to share." And that's what this podcast is all about. That's what my creative life is all about. I'm not out to prove anything to anybody, especially when I wear things, which I do enjoy wearing, the things that I've made all the time. It is not about parading them in front of people. It is about celebrating the gift that I have been given to live and enjoy life through each of these stitches. And it's about celebrating that life, that creative life. So that is one thing that's been marking the season here through Lent. It is a wonderfully reflective knit in that there are very few places where you have to think. You know, the yoke at the top and then at the bottom of each sleeve, but everything else is pretty straightforward, lots of stockinette. I actually love stockinette and garter stitch for that reason, because there is a lot of reflection time offered to you when you have big expanses in your knitting like that. So that's one way I'm marking this season of spring, of Lent, of the time leading up to Easter, a time that is one filled with reflection for me and for my husband and for many of our friends. Another way that I'm marking that season is by drawing. And I announced in the last podcast that my ebook and video course had just come out. There have been numerous people who have graciously purchased the course and are working through it and discovering these daily drawings to be a wonderful addition to their life, and hopefully that course has helped them with that. So I dove in for Lent to make a drawing of something ordinary, something just, you know, in my life, ordinary, our bed, you know, my hand, a lamp in my living room, which actually I'll say this because knitters and crocheters, you might like this idea. A few years back for my birthday, actually I think for my 50th birthday, I asked my family to give me 2 clear glass lamps that you can actually get into and fill. A lot of times you see these lamps filled with seashells. I wanted to fill it with yarn, balls of yarn. So I have 2 of these in my living room. And so this is what has been marking my days each and every day through Lent. Actually, it's Monday through Saturday because Sundays are not considered to be one of the 40 days. They are feast days along the way to Easter. But I've been drawing something ordinary, and it's inspired by the book Liturgy of the Ordinary that I told you about in the last podcast. Here is a drawing of the socks that I had going at the time. This was just maybe a little over a week ago or a week and a half ago. And I am excited to tell you that they are finished. Woohoo! This is a Regia brand of sock yarn from the Arne and Carlos line. And I just love the pattern that shows up. I have said this numerous times in my classes and perhaps even on this podcast. You know, knitting with their yarn makes you look like a rock star when you're sitting and knitting somewhere at the dentist office or wherever. People are just like fascinated that you can make all these patterns, and then you know, you tell them it's actually quite simple, that the yarn does it itself as you knit regular stockinette socks. So I have also had a wonderful time seeing a couple of my students start and learn to knit socks, and they are having a blast. So this sock knitting is actually something that I mark every season with. There is always a season for sock knitting. I mean, even in the summertime. It's just that I choose colors that go along with the season. So here I'm jumping from my sketchbook back and forth here because they do blend. You know, if I get to draw my knitting, that's like icing on the cake, right? But we had this yarn, this opal sock yarn, come into the shop at Knit One Smock Two, and you know, it's just flown off the shelves. It is a wonderful yarn filled with spring colors that look like watermelon, and it actually knits up like watermelon. And I mean, how fun is that? Take a look at the pattern that's coming there. This is just your basic sock. It's actually Susan B. Anderson's sock pattern that I converted into magic loop. Hers is written for double-pointed needles. It's not difficult to convert that to the magic loop technique. And I just find this to be an easier way to knit my socks, even though I love working with DPNs. So I'm marking the season with these springy watermelon socks, and I knit socks year round. There's always a season for sock knitting. Some more drawing that I've been doing. We are still meeting on Friday mornings. Several friends, artist friends, and myself, we meet downtown to draw. And because we really we've had 1 or 2 days that we've been outside, and one day that we actually took ourselves to the Chinkapin plantation. That was a lot of fun, and did some drawings there. But we've been at a collection, and I have been drawing out of a sketchbook that I picked up at Walmart a little while ago, and it's wonderful because it's craft paper, and so drawing on the craft paper allows the paper to be a mid-tone, and your dark colors of course, to be the darker value, and then you can really add in the highlights here. I hope you're able to see. The lighting in here today is coming and going as the sun peeks in and out of the clouds. So here is a drawing of my friend who draws with me most of the time, and then there are a few others that join us. This drawing was done just this past Friday, and the chandelier there upstairs in a collection was quite a challenge to set myself to draw and try and get all that detail in there. Not sure it was successful, but it sure was a lot of fun to draw. And I've been marking the season as well. For our children, I do love to draw. My kids, especially when they have particular things that are going on in their lives. I believe in a podcast I may have shown you a drawing of my youngest child who was in the marching band in the fall. And there were a couple of fun drawings of her in marching band. And this drawing I did just here recently of our son. He is our middle child, and he is going to East Carolina University, and he sings in the ECU Chamber Choir. And so for this drawing, I do sometimes draw while I'm there. But for this particular evening, I wanted to really be present to the music. We were near the front, and the baritones typically are off on the other side, but for this particular piece, they had flip-flopped places, and so he was standing very near to us where I could snap a picture without anybody knowing and then draw from that photograph. He recently had the lead role in Don Giovanni. It was the full opera in Italian. Absolutely amazing. My goodness. So, drawing is a great way to mark the seasons of our lives, as well as knitting and crocheting. So, that is basically all I have to share with you as far as what I have on the needles, because I have set myself through Lent a rather large project that will soon be coming to an end, and it's a weaving project. I have been weaving through Lent, and there will in total be 9 weavings. I've been posting little snippets, just peeks at these weavings in progress. I haven't been posting the final weavings. They are being shown in the lobby or the vestibule area at our church each week. When folks come in, there's a new one. And then for Passion Week, for Easter week, there will be 3 separate weavings. There will be one for Maundy Thursday, one for Good Friday, and one for Resurrection Sunday. So 9 all total. When I have that series finished, I plan on doing a podcast, or in some way, I'm trying to think of a good way to share these weavings with you. They have been tremendously, I shouldn't say challenging, not in the sense of difficulty, but it is like painting with fiber, in the sense that I am trying to communicate something with the fibers and with the weavings, that a sweater is not necessarily trying to communicate a thought or an idea, if that makes any sense. So with these weavings, there has been a good bit of time, effort, enjoyment, reflection that has gone into each of them, and so they will be finished soon. I am on the very last one. I have begun the final one, which for Resurrection Sunday is going to be the biggest one. They're not huge. These are tapestry weavings. So I've made most of them on my little frame looms that I made. And this last one will be done on a little bit larger rigid heddle loom that I was given. And I think I've told you about that in a podcast also. So that is how I've been moving through this season. I thought that I would take you through my dollhouse back here and share with you the menagerie that lives in the dollhouse. Before I do that, I wanted to share with you something that you have to be quiet about, at least for a couple of days. This is a mystery make that my students are doing in my classes. And so we do this every now and then. I will send them an email and say, okay, on this date, we're going to have a mystery make. And I give them their homework. I tell them what it is they need to have prepared and ready for the class. And I bring all the other things that they'll need for this mystery make. In the past, at Christmas time, I'm pretty sure I shared with you the mystery make we had, where I had learned from Phil of the Twisted Yarn to knit a square or crochet a square, and how you can make a Christmas tree out of that. I came across an idea using knitted or crocheted squares again, but this time turning them into bunnies. The cutest little bunnies, and they're sitting right back here. I'm going to show them to you, but shh, don't tell anybody. I will put a link in the show notes to a WordPress blog where the gal walks you through the steps. This is actually, I've found it in numerous places. So I did find a YouTube video on how to make it, but I had stumbled across it first off on this WordPress blog. So will you believe that a knitted square creates this cutie pie? And would you believe that a crocheted square makes this little cutie pie? Oh, are they just not adorable? And I mean, I can hardly sleep at night for thinking of all the color combinations, Eastery colors. Oh, what if I knitted one out of seed stitch? I think most of the ones you'll see online are done in garter stitch, but I decided for the crochet, this is just single crochet. And then this one, I did kind of like a basic swatch where you have garter stitch at the bottom, stockinette in the center, garter stitches running up the side, kind of like it frames out the square. But anyway, isn't he so cute? Oh, they need names. I haven't named them yet, but I will be sharing. My first class is tonight, and then there'll be another class tomorrow morning, and then another one Thursday night. So this is what we're doing. So fun. And I hope you can go and make one as well, or two, or, you know, rabbits tend to multiply. So that would be good. Oh, also, I need to tell you, I also go through seasons that I call gathering seasons, you know, and I'll make, and then it's not so much that they all are finished, but I'm just ready for a new transition or a new section, or I'm just really enjoying looking for projects, looking for things to do. And I have found some yarns on sale here and there, and so the wheels are turning, like, you know, what am I going to make out of these? So I thought I would share with you a few of these patterns that I have purchased and are free. I'm not going to put links to all of these. You can just look them up. But I am going to lean into this first one because I am so inspired to knit Selbewörter, these mittens that Patricia on her knitography vlog, which I really hope you are visiting her vlog. It is just wonderful to hear all these amazing stories that she's sharing with us. Her project is just fabulous. But she had also referenced us to, first of all, the Selbewörter book that she speaks of is in Norwegian. And though she is giving lessons for how to read these knitting patterns, and the book is filled with charts, so you can just work from the charts, She did steer us to someone who has, Ellie of Skein Knits, has typed up a pattern for a sample Selbu mitten pair. And I love this pattern. I can't wait to dive into it. I have yarn on order through our shop, and it's Brown Sheep Nature Spun. We're really hoping that it will be a great pairing with the Selbu mittens. So I've got several color combinations, and I know that I'm going to jump in with off-white and lime green, a bright green, my favorite color, and it's the color of spring. But I am so excited to learn from Ellie's pattern how to make these Selbu mittens. So look her up. This is a for purchase pattern, but well worth it. She walks you through everything. She has the chart. Great pattern. I also, in that whole stranded knitting, I just absolutely love it, and I don't do enough of it. But I came across, this is Phil of the Twisted Yarn, that blog that I told you about. I found the Christmas trees that you can make from a square. This is a free stranded knitting Fair Isle cowl, beautiful one that she has designed and offers on her blog. So you can download that. I don't have a color printer, but I think that actually that's a good thing when it comes to stranded knitting patterns, because that way I can insert whatever colors I'm going to choose for the two-color knitting or however many colors. I think Phil's cowl uses about 16 different colors, and of course, you know, we can play with that and use fewer or more or whatever, but at any rate, oh, I do need to show you some yarn, because in showing you this shawl, it's called the Mini Madness shawl. It was actually free during March. I wish I had had time to podcast to let you know about this. But Angie of Camel City Dye Works, she actually is here in our area. She lives just on the other side of Winston-Salem, which is where the shop is, where I teach. She dyes incredibly beautiful yarns, and she offered this pattern to work with, I think it's 6 different mini skeins. Well, I don't have 6 different mini skeins. I would imagine that you could use 6 of anything, leftovers, you know, put together and do this. And actually, back in the DollHouse here, hopefully I will get to introducing you to the Menagerie. You're going to see a little bowl, beautiful bowl of pottery made by a friend of mine, filled with small batches of hand-spun yarn that I have spun. And there are 2 or 3 colors that a friend / student of mine has also spun and given to me. And I'm thinking that this will be perfect. This will be the perfect pattern for that. But it will also be perfect to use just 1 skein of Angie's yarn or of anyone's hand-dyed yarn. But I have to show you this gorgeousness. So there it is, Camel City Dye Works. You can find her on Instagram, you can find her Etsy shop, and it is just beautiful, luscious colors, vibrant, that she has. I believe it's called kettle dyed, and that is going to be gorgeous. And I think will be lovely with her Mini Madness shawl. The shawl, the way it's constructed, just from reading it, allows you to make this as big or little as you like. And I have this yumminess, a little mini skein, to go with it that I thought might make a wonderful picot edge at the end. I think there will be enough there to add just this little pop of color at the end in picots. I absolutely love picot edges on shawls. So I'm looking forward to that. I also found, this is a free pattern. I'm interested in doing more lace type work. And so this one, the June Bunnies shawl, it's made by Inez and Zane, silverliningknits.blogspot. And that looks like a lovely shawl. You really should look that up and see the different colorways that have been used in this shawl. It's just exquisite. I love Sylvia McFadden's designs, and this latest, oh, I can't remember the title. I don't know. It'll come to me. But this pattern was free, I believe, offered, and I have the two yarns in my head that I want to use for this one. That looks like just a beautiful striping, and I love the pattern of the striping. And so I'm excited about that. There's two other patterns that I will be purchasing, pretty certain, and I'm going to dive into these at some point. And they are both Stephen West patterns. One is the dotted rays, and I have some cotton yarns that I think would work up nicely with the dotted rays pattern. And then there is another pattern, forgive me for forgetting the name of this one as well, but I have some yarn for another one of his that has more of it's a garter at the top, and then there's a very loose, open, kind of lacy ripple along the bottom of it. It isn't the Doodler, it's one of the older ones, and it has an interesting name, so that's why it's escaping me right now. But let's stop right here. I'm going to stop the camera, and then I will, actually, I'm not going to introduce you to everyone. I'm going to let Mortimer and Millicent introduce you to all the friends in the DollHouse. So we'll be right back. Okay, this is Mortimer and Millicent. These awesome mice are a pattern from Arne and Carlos's Knit and Crochet Garden book. This fabulous book is one of my favorites in knitting and crochet. I love what those guys make. I love their outlook on making. I really enjoy their podcast, and I had a great time using their mouse pattern to make Mortimer and Millicent. You can see that the pants allow his tail to come out there. For Millicent, there actually aren't clothes for a female mouse, but their doll, Hippie, in the book, her clothes fit the mice perfectly. So I just knitted Hippie's little dress to make for Millicent, and then Hippie's socks here with just the cute petals that are knitted around the edge there. They are a sweet pair and a great couple, and they, along with Macy, which they will introduce in just a minute, preside over the menagerie that is in my dollhouse. This dollhouse was mine as a little girl. My parents gave it to me. I have vivid memories of the day that I received this dollhouse. It was all brown. Just regular pine wood that had been stained brown. And they sent me on a little hunt. My mom and dad sent me on a hunt. I don't know if any of you have ever had this for your birthday, but I used to love them as a child. You'd be given a clue to go to one spot, and there would be another clue, possibly a small gift to open. That clue would lead you to another spot, etc., etc., etc. And finally, I arrived, would you believe it, in their bathroom, and the dollhouse was sitting in the tub for me to find behind the curtain. the shower curtain. So I loved this dollhouse. A girlfriend of mine and I, from about 4th grade on, stitched and made dolls together. We were in love with Joan Wash Anglin dolls. I still have mine that I made. Someday I should probably pull them out and share them with you. But this dollhouse went through a transformation when my first child was coming along, and she was maybe about 6 years old, 7 years old, and was interested in dolls. So we painted it and wallpapered the inside with some leftover Laura Ashley wallpapers that my mom had been using in her home. And of course, I had all kinds of furniture for the Joan Wash Anglin dolls, but now I just use it here on my desk as part a place for the menagerie to live. Part it holds yarn. It's kind of a mess. And as you saw in the introduction, I did not clean off my desk. And every now and then I do have a nice pristine desk, but that isn't now. So actually most of the time it looks like this. But I it's just fun because I always have different projects going. Mortimer and Millicent will take you through, and so we'll take a look at who all's in the dollhouse today. All right, so Mortimer, where to first? Who are we going to take a look at first? Oh, a Macy, absolutely. Okay, let's go up to the very tippy top here and introduce you to Macy, who is also a mouse. She is actually the queen of this castle. This sweet little felted mouse was given to me by a very dear friend who has been in one of my knitting groups for over 10 years. And she gave this to me, I think, soon after my first surgery had happened, and I have drawn her many times, this little mouse, and created a small story about her, which is at Christmas time, and her and Genevieve, who is one of my characters. You also will see there one of the little Corkneys that I had typed up a pattern for free and offered at Christmas time. This area here, which Mortimer says, that's right back there, is where he and Millicent sit and chat about the day and the things that are going on in the dollhouse. This here up front is one of a few paper mache birds that I made a few years back. Each bird has their own knitted shawl, and I just love their bright colors. They remind me of spring, and these are some shells, things that I've found at the beach when we go. Back in the back here, the little bunny at the top, her name is Yvette, and she is standing on top of a wonderful gift I was given by the owner of the yarn shop where I teach, and that sheep is just fabulous, made with wool there. And as we go down to the bottom shelf, you will see this wonderful mouse with the boat that she sails in. And there's another one there in the back. As you can see, she doesn't quite have the sails up yet in her boat. But these mice are a free pattern by Anne Wood. You should check her out. I will try to put that link also in the show notes so that you can find that pattern. Mortimer is saying that there really isn't anyone, except that back behind this is this wonderful pottery lamb that I loved getting from Saf and have shared with you. And that's a picture of my husband and I at our daughter's wedding. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a minute. Here is a little bird. He doesn't have a name. He was just a sample that I did for a class. And then a knitted bird's nest with some, actually those eggs back there are regular plastic eggs that are covered with strips, just torn pieces of paper. I don't know if I can get much closer there, just torn pieces of paper that are glued down and Mod Podged on. Up here on this level is the little bowl with all the hand-spun yarn that I told you about. More of the cork niece, another bird with a knitted shawl, and Hedgie. This is Hedgie's room. She's quite content here because it's a very soft little nest for her. And this felted house there in the back was given to me by a friend / student. And then my Genevieve and the Kite book. And we go up here to another cork niece. This is a crocheted one. The pattern also, there's a crocheted pattern for free for that. And another of the paper mache birds. They all have names. I have forgotten them now, but I'd have to go back in my notes to figure them out. And then Mortimer says that, okay, I ran out of space on my phone. So Mortimer was just saying how he and Millicent are very excited about welcoming the 2 new bunnies into the menagerie once they've made their rounds through all of the classes. Mortimer and Millicent went and visited several of the classes last week. They might have some other classes to visit, but they are wonderful knit. There were a few things I remember having to work with the pattern, and probably I'm imagining that these were just issues that in translating from Norwegian to English, some things got lost in there, but I think you'd be able to figure that out. It's they have a great shape to them. I hope you'll spend some time making a mouse or two with Arne and Carlos's pattern from their book Knit and Crochet Garden. So from here, this is all I have for you today. Next time, I want to share with you the things that I made during a very special season of my life, which was last spring. During this time, through March, April, May, because our oldest daughter was getting married in June, early June. And that is a significant season in our lives as women. When your firstborn, actually, when any of your children go to get married, I imagine it's going to be just as big with my son as well as with our youngest daughter. But this firstborn getting married to a wonderful man, I wanted to be sure I knitted and crocheted through the entire process of putting on a wedding and being a part of their big day. So I'll share that season with you in the next podcast, and there will be more coming about all of that. I wish you a wonderful week of making, whether you knit, crochet, paint, or draw. Perhaps you weave also. Maybe you spin and dye yarn. And I hope you have a very artful week and a wonderful day. Mortimer and Millicent say goodbye as well. And Macy is also from the top of the house there, letting you all know that she wishes you a happy day.